recognize that our tourism product can be more sustainable if we continue to target high-value visitors who are interested in longer stays that more significantly impact our economy. To tap into that market, we need to position our airport as a convenient, dependable, safe, and efficient destination with superior private jet accommodation, providing adequate hangar space, parking and fueling facilities, maintenance, and a first-class FBO. In addition, for the benefit of our own traveling public, we see the need to supplement the availability of air transport connections directly out of Nevis to the Caribbean and to the U.S. mainland. We can only achieve these objectives by significantly improving our existing airport facilities. Madam President, we are therefore negotiating a partnership with a private entity for the further development of the Vance Amri International Airport. This joint venture project will involve the extension of the airport runway by approximately 1,500 feet to accommodate most private jets, as well as the regional jets used by American Airlines and other U.S. carriers. The provision of fueling for aircraft, hangar, and additional parking, as well as upgrading of the facilities at the terminal building. This development has the potential to transform the Vance Amri International Airport into a first-class private jet and regional airport facility with accompanying services, not only for luxury travelers, but for our own people as well. We commit to enhancing our tourism offerings by working to attract the private jet industry as well as regional carriers, which will offer scheduled and charter services from the U.S. mainland. Nevis has the potential to compete favorably in that high-end market, and we intend to exploit our full potential in this regard. Madam President, the call center facility at Brownhill is another turnkey operation readily available for public-private sector partnership. This facility is fully furnished and ready for use. We are currently engaged in very fruitful discussions with potential operators, and we believe that we can solidify a partnership during this fiscal year and return operations to this facility. This will assist considerably in greater job creation, especially among our youth. It did not make it into the budget, Madam President, but I feel I can inform the House that this morning on my way here I was informed that we have in fact secured an operator for the call center at Brownhill. The time is ripe for promoting Nevis internationally by establishing a physical presence in a major commercial city. To that end, we intend to set up an Invest Nevis office on Wall Street, New York. We are currently in discussions with one of our existing service providers who has offered us an operating space at their offices in New York, from which we can partner with them in the promotion of Nevis not only as a tourism destination, but also as a destination for foreign direct investment. This arrangement will provide Nevis with a greater reach and exposure in the investment capital of the world. Let us now look, Madam President, at the all-important tourism sector. Our tourism sector has begun an impressive recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, which had stifled our visitor arrivals and earnings over the past 2 years. Our hotels are reporting robust bookings with much improved occupancy and nightly room rate levels comparable to, and in some cases exceeding, pre-pandemic era. These improvements in economic activity are also evidenced by stronger bookings, longer lead time for bookings, and improved earning capacity as being reported by taxi and tour operators, activity and events coordinators, and managers of dining and accommodation establishments. Importantly, we have seen a return of cruise and yacht tourism, with 47 cruise calls which are expected this year to bring just under 20,000 visitors to our shores. In addition to the direct calls to Nevis, we have seen large increases in the number of cruise and other visitors who have arrived on our sister island of St. Kitts and have chosen to journey to Nevis to experience our hospitality. Nevis, we should all be proud, continues to earn considerable accolades. The destination was listed by Caribbean Journal as one of the top destinations for travel in 2023 and was characterized as a tiny island that punched far above its weight. Sunshine's Bar and Grill was recognized by Caribbean Journal as having the best rum punch in the Caribbean. Kudos also to Montpelier Plantation and Beach and Four Seasons Resort Nevis, which are consistently ranked highly by various travel publications for their exceptional service and customer experience. Further, Nevis has committed to hosting the 10th biennial CTO Human Resources Conference in November of this year. This conference is expected to attract scores of regional and international delegates. Madam President, our flagship project, Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park, which was a joint investment between the NIA and the Republic of China, Taiwan, continues to be a major attraction for visitors and residents alike. During its first year of operation, the park welcomed approximately 40,000 visitors and received bookings for more than 200 events. In light of this, further efforts will be geared towards diversifying and improving the facilities of the park to stimulate growth in the use of this venue. Madam President, I am happy to report that we have received further funding from the Taiwanese government to pursue additional development at the lower end of Pinnis Beach, all in an effort to enhance the ambiance in the area and raise the value of our tourism product offering. Work on this phase of the project will see upgrades to the restaurant and beach areas on the western side of the park, focusing on landscaping, enhanced drainage and flood control, improved road network, parking for well over 100 vehicles, a boardwalk, smart street signs, enhanced security, and bathroom facilities. This project, which has already commenced, is expected to take 16 months to complete at an estimated cost of US $3.3 million, which will be primarily funded by the government of Taiwan. The Ministry of Tourism will continue to invest in community-based tourist attractions as a means of enhancing our tourism product offerings. This will be achieved through collaboration with our allied partners and coordinators of authentic festivals, such as the Jessup Seafood Fiesta, the Nevis Mango Festival, and the St. Kitts and Nevis Restaurant Week. A third segment of our tourism training module will be rolled out shortly and will focus on establishing an inventory for tourism assets, improving and diversifying tours, and fostering entrepreneurship, particularly in the St. Thomas's community. Madam President, enhancement work will continue at the Bath Stream, and thanks to an investment of US $108,000 secured from the US Ambassador's Cultural Preservation Fund, work has already commenced on the restoration and stabilization of the historic Bath Hotel, which incidentally has been earmarked as one of the best potential heritage assets on Nevis, worthy of UNESCO World Heritage Status designation. To achieve this designation, we will continue to support the efforts of the National Historical and Cultural Society, even though we have recently poached one of their most productive assets in the person of the Honorable Janelle Nisbet. We hope they will quickly find a suitable replacement. Revitalizing the construction sector. Madam President, even as we anticipate the rebound of a robust tourism sector, the construction sector continues to carry its weight as a dominant pillar of the economy. The data, as provided by the St. Christopher and Nevis Social Security Board, showed that reported employment in the construction sector stood at 504 jobs as of December 31st, 2022, representing 8.7% of total average employment for 2022. I emphasize construction jobs as reported. During the period January to December 2022, a total of 384 development applications were received by the Department of Physical Planning. These applications include construction and renovation of residential properties, commercial buildings, land clearing, and land subdivision. Of the total submitted 328 applications, 170 of these were approved, and commenced construction during the period last year, 2022. As of December 31st, 2022, there were a total of 184 active construction sites being monitored by the officers of the Department of Physical Planning. The above data signifies the importance of this sector to our economic development. In recognizing the construction sector as a critical pillar of the Nevis economy and its role in the socio-economic development of the island, we commit to continuing to stimulate activities in this sector through a variety of programs and initiatives. We commit to extending the duty-free concessions granted under the First-Time Homeowners Program, extending concessions to those persons constructing commercial spaces up to June 30th, 2023, and reducing the alien landholding license fees to 5% on the purchase of land or existing buildings, whether residential or commercial. Madam President, the First-Time Homeowners Concessions Program, as well as the COVID Stimulus Construction Initiative, have proven to be a significant economic boost to the construction sector, facilitating the fast tracking and conversion of approved plans into active construction sites, thereby creating employment. Notwithstanding the success of the program, the administration now needs to introduce policies that will further boost the sector by making the approvals time-bound. Effective immediately, therefore, all applicants for the First-Time Homeowners Concessions will be enrolled for an initial period of 24 months, as it is expected that financing can be arranged and the construction of homes can be fully completed within a 24-month period. A further assessment can be made at the end of this period to determine the need for any further extension of concessions, but such extensions will be granted sparingly. If I may, Madam President, just to explain, what we are saying is that when persons apply for these concessions and are granted, they must proceed with construction. That they cannot continue to delay for years to come, because if they do that, then we're not getting the benefit of the stimulus that we are seeking to achieve by having these concessions granted. The COVID Relief Construction Stimulus Program, which was also introduced to boost employment in the construction sector through the renovation and remodeling of existing homes, will be phased out during this current year. Persons already enrolled in the program will be given a 6-month period to June 30th, 2023 to complete these renovation and remodeling works. Let us turn now to agriculture. Madam President, the St. Kitts and Nevis Agriculture Growth and Transformation Strategy is a driving force for the advancement of our agricultural sector. This is a 10-year strategic plan conceptualized at the federal level, designed to tackle challenges facing the agricultural sector by providing a common vision, formulating guiding principles, and framing solutions for sustainable and resilient agri-food systems. This federal strategy is also in keeping with the current mandate of our own Ministry of Agriculture to ensure food and nutrition security for all. To be self-sufficient, we must position ourselves to feed ourselves. This was a critical lesson learned during the period of the recent pandemic. Our mandate has therefore shifted from merely ensuring food security to that of achieving food sovereignty. Food sovereignty refers to the right of people to have access to healthy and culturally appropriate food produced through ecologically sound and sustainable methods, along with their right to define their own food and agriculture systems. The concept of food sovereignty puts the aspirations and needs of those who produce, distribute, and consume food at the heart of our food systems, rather than the demands of markets and corporations. In light of this, the agricultural sector will continue to be one of the prominent sectors of focus of our administration during this fiscal year. We must laud the efforts of our vegetable and livestock farmers for their outstanding contribution to the continued growth and development of this sector. We must also commend the efforts of our younger generation of farmers who have joined this sector and are prepared to adopt technology to increase production yields and venture into the production of non-traditional crops. Our fisher folk as well, Madam President, must be commended. The thrust toward shade house technology as a means of increasing production yields and mitigating the effects of climate change continues to be an area of focus. During the year 2022, a total of 3 new shade houses were erected on the island, bringing the total number to 25 active shade houses presently under agricultural production. To supplement the supply of meat products on island, we'll continue to advance our efforts at establishing a poultry industry on Nevis. This concept is driven primarily by the fact that when we examine our imports of chicken products, we recognize that during the year 2022, a total of some 519,184 pounds of chicken and chicken byproducts at an estimated value of $1.5 million were imported. This was lower, Madam President, than the 706,800 pounds imported in 2021 due to the current shortage of chicken products on the world market, especially in the United States. Just imagine, Madam President, 706,000 pounds of chicken being imported into Nevis each year. We are convinced that the benefit of eating locally produced food will positively impact changes in our consumption patterns, and the desire of our people to eat more healthily will be a driving force for the success of this industry. In this regard, the Department of Agriculture has already expended the amount of some US $260,000 to acquire a turnkey bird processing plant, which should arrive on island during the first quarter of this year. This has the capacity to process 700 to 800 birds per day. This facility will operate in a similar manner as our current abattoir, managed by the Department of Agriculture and outsourcing the production of birds to local farmers. The Department of Agriculture will in short order unveil a package of fiscal concessions to stimulate the interest of persons wishing to venture into this sector. The Ministry of Agriculture has already identified some 60 acres of land which will be subdivided and made available to entrepreneurs who are interested in pursuing the rearing of birds. The development of a hatchery on Nevis will also be encouraged. This is of paramount importance as the poultry industry relies heavily on the availability of small chicks to replenish the stock of birds. Having the ability to provide our own replacement birds on a regular basis to both our egg-producing and the broiler farmers in the Federation will greatly add to the sustainability of this project. It will also create for Nevis a niche market as a supplier of replacement birds for neighboring islands who normally would have to rely on Barbados and the United States to supply replacement birds to support their poultry and egg industries. Repositioning the financial services sector. Madam President, we continue to advocate for a financial services sector driven by registered agents, operating side by side with the administration. To achieve this, we must develop a meaningful partnership with the Nevis International Service Providers Association, NISPA, the representative arm of the registered agents. I am happy to report that there have been positive steps to advance this partnership. During the period November 1st to 3rd, 2022, I had the pleasure to lead a joint contingent of government officials representing the Nevis financial services sector and the registered agents to the Private Wealth and Latin America Forum in Miami. This event was a huge success as it gave our registered agents a chance to network and dialogue with the delegates attending the conferences in a manner that set the foundation for lasting relationships which can be to the benefit and growth of the sector. Our administration has already committed itself to actively participating in at least 3 international marketing initiatives or roadshows each year, in which Nevis will see itself as a part sponsor of these international marketing events. The joint sponsoring of these events gives us the opportunity to host private Nevis-specific events as part of the schedule, so that we can make a direct sales pitch to the participants attending these events. We look forward to working closely with all registered agents to identify the best of such opportunities that have the potential to propel Nevis to the next level among international financial services centers. Madam President, this sector is undoubtedly one of the major earners of government revenue, contributing at least 9.7% of our revenues annually. During the period January to December 2022, a total of 2,674 new entities were incorporated when compared to the 1,842 entities incorporated for the same period in 2021. Total direct government revenue generated by this sector during the period January to December 2022 amounted to some $13.3 million. At December 31, 2022, there were 13,702 active entities on the register. During the last fiscal year, we witnessed an increase in new business incorporations, along with the redomiciliation of entities onto our register from some competitor jurisdictions, where new measures have proved challenging or unsustainable for some entities. While we welcome the redomiciliation of entities, I wish to assure everyone that Nevis will not accept or approve any new business without our usual extensive due diligence process, ensuring full compliance with the laws and regulations of Nevis. We have a duty to ensure that we attract only reputable business if we are to continue to uphold and protect the integrity of our jurisdiction. In a further effort to facilitate the domiciliation of other entities, my administration has instituted an incentive package that we hope will attract new service providers to establish a physical presence on Nevis. These initiatives form part of our overall strategy to grow the financial services sector by at least 50% over the medium term. Considering this, Madam President, we pledge to commit more resources to this sector. Provisions have been made in the budget for this financial year for additional staffing for the Nevis Financial Services Department so as to enhance our ability to properly supervise and monitor activities in this sector. We will reconvene the annual in-person AML CFT CPF conference, which served as a training opportunity and exposed all practitioners within the financial services industry to international best practices. We intend to implement technological solutions to assist with the risk-based supervision of regulated entities and will collaborate with other competent authorities within St. Kitts and Nevis to pursue the upgrades of technical compliance ratings that were outlined in the CFATF Mutual Evaluation Report. Our legislative agenda for this fiscal year will include various amendments to our financial services products legislation, especially our international banking and trust legislation, to keep us on the cutting edge of competitiveness and align us with the requirements of the various international financial services regulatory agencies. Additional regulations will also be proposed for the trust and corporate service providers in accordance with the standards set by the Group of International Financial Center Supervisors. Let us segue, Madam President, to infrastructural development. And let us look at roads. Our road rehabilitation program has been the envy of our neighbors and has greatly enhanced the landscape of Nevis. This program has sought to transform the way of life and the physical surroundings of all of the communities of Nevis. During the last fiscal year, extensive work was completed at Upper Chapel Street, which saw the widening and realigning of the road network and upgrading of the drainage in the vicinity of the Charlestown Methodist Church, reconstruction of the Methodist Church perimeter wall, the reconstruction of the road adjacent to the Prospect Power Station, the reconstruction of roads at Camps, Libert Hill, and Nisbet Settlement, along with the adjoining road leading from Malcolm Hill to Lower Prospect Road. These works formed part of our secondary road rehabilitation program, to which the amount of approximately $2 million was allocated. As it relates to our major road rehabilitation program, extensive work was carried out on Phase 2 of the Butler's Rehabilitation Road project. This followed on from Phase 1, which was completed in 2021 and included the rehabilitation of approximately 3,000 feet of road extending from the entrance to Butler's, ending at the Butler's Health Center. This also includes a realignment of driveways and the reconstruction of perimeter fence walls. The amount of $3.5 million was allocated for the completion of these works, of which $2.3 million has been spent. It is anticipated that all remaining works on this project will be fully completed during this fiscal year. Madam President, work on the Bath Village Road Rehabilitation Project also commenced in 2022. We commend the good people of Bath for their patience and understanding as these works progressed at a much slower pace in comparison to works at Butler's. The obvious reason is that the infrastructure and the layout of the road network in Bath is very challenging, and extra time had to be spent to deal with these intricacies. These works include the rehabilitation of approximately 3,400 feet of the Bath Village Main Road and an additional 4,000 feet of road in Lower Bath. The amount of $3.9 million has been allocated to this project, which is expected to be fully completed during this fiscal year. The rehabilitation of the Island Main Road project from Cades Bay to the entrance of the Mount Nevis Hotel and extending from the Newcastle Police Station to camps also commenced during the last fiscal year. This work was privately contracted and funded through a loan of $11 million provided by the Bank of Nevis. These works include a realignment of some sections of the road, improvement in drainage, and the general resurfacing of this section of the Island Main Road. It is expected that these works will be completed during the first half of this fiscal year. And let me explain to the House, Madam President, that the reason why the road goes to the entrance of Mount Nevis and then restarts in Newcastle, we have left out that portion by the airport because we anticipate the airport project and did not want to reconstruct that road only then to have to interfere with it when the airport project starts. Madam President, to spur further economic activity, we must now seek to open up road networks in new and emerging communities to provide not only for residential development, but for commercial development as well. This government shall commission a feasibility study for the opening up of the road network from Long Point to Indian Castle via the southern belt of the island. This study will identify the cost of the infrastructure to be installed, identify landowners in that area, determine the alignment of the road network itself, identify drainage issues and coastal protection measures that will have to be implemented to make this project a reality. The information garnered from this study would greatly assist the administration in its planning process to determine the resources necessary to be allocated to this project. Further reporting on this project will be provided to this House and to the Division public in the future. But this project, Madam President, we see as transformational for the island of Nevis by opening up the entire south coast of the island, which has hitherto been inaccessible. In the meantime, rehabilitation of the road network connecting Church Ground to Hamilton, Maynard's Ground, Brown Pasture, Cotton Ground, along with the milling and resurfacing of the bypass road leading from the Pump Road to the Artisan Village are also scheduled to be undertaken. We have allocated an amount of $10 million to fund our road rehabilitation program for this fiscal year. We turn now, Madam President, to the all-important topic of water. In the area of water services development, our water storage and distribution system is now on par and in some cases exceeds that of many of our neighbors. We completed the installation of the new reservoir at Pond Hill at a cost of US $426,000. This reservoir has a capacity to store 250,000 gallons of water for use by residents of Gingerland and the surrounding areas. Having achieved huge success in our water storage capabilities, the efforts of the department will now be geared towards upgrading and maintaining our water distribution mains island-wide so as to bring water outages and disruptions to a minimum. Working with the Department of Public Health, work will commence on the improvement of the drainage in Charlestown, thus enhancing the general sanitary conditions of our city center. As our people build out more commercial and residential properties, the delivery of reliable and adequate sources of water must keep pace with development. We must continue to meet our responsibilities in this regard. To this end, we will continue to take steps to identify and harvest additional water through the drilling of wells, and will also seek to explore the possibility of desalination as an option to meet the growing needs of our people, while we continue at all times, Madam President, to encourage our people to be conservative in their use of this scarce resource. Madam President, climate change continues to disrupt the global environment negatively, and the water supply on the island is not immune to its impact. We have seen a change in rainfall patterns, and notwithstanding the recent unusually wet January and February, for which we are grateful, we note the reduction of overall rain quantities. Our aquifers are severely overdrawn as the rate of recharge continues to be significantly reduced. We will continue to monitor and manage these water sources to ensure that there remains an adequate supply to meet daily demand. We have made significant investments in water systems, and I use this opportunity to encourage consumers to pay their bills on time. I use this opportunity to encourage consumers to pay their bills on time, so as to provide the administration with the revenue stream necessary to support the reliable delivery of water services. Our water rates, Madam President, are affordable, and those who can pay but refuse to pay must not be allowed to abuse the system. Energy, sustainability, and security. Madam President, the impact of recent international events makes us keenly aware that our current reliance on fossil fuels to meet our energy needs is unsustainable. Nevis experienced the damaging effects of rising fuel prices last year, and if nothing else, that experience has caused us to turn our attention to alternative energy sources as we seek to build a new clean and green economy over the long term. There are thousands of new employment opportunities being created as the world transitions from fossil fuels to clean energy. The realization of geothermal energy will position Nevis to take its place as one of those economies transitioning to green energy. Nevis has a geothermal resource that we are told is among the best in the world. This has been confirmed by various studies, and the results of exploratory wells drilled in 2008, N1, N2, and N3, along with the N4 well drilled in 2018. Based on recent assessments, it has been determined that this resource can support generating capacity well in excess of the demand for electricity in the entire Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. This additional capacity will be available for export of electricity to other islands and for new industries based on byproducts such as green hydrogen, ammonia, fertilizer for local use and export. Madam President, we welcome and place on record our satisfaction in the confidence shown by the Caribbean Development Bank, which has approved some US $17 million for the drilling phase of the geothermal project. This includes the drilling of 3 production and 2 injection wells, scheduled to commence in June of this year. Of this funding, the amount of $1 million is allocated for contracting of technical expertise to support implementation of the project, while the remaining US $16 million is provided as a contingency recoverable grant, CRG, towards drilling of the wells. This grant, along with any additional funding necessary for the completion of the wells, will be financed through a concessional loan from the CDB should the wells prove to be commercially viable. It must be noted that in the event that the project is deemed not economically viable after the drilling of the wells, these funds will not need to be repaid, and therefore will pose no loss to the taxpayers of Nevis or St. Kitts. That is why it is termed a contingency recoverable grant. In accordance with the CDB procurement procedures, a tender was launched for a contractor to provide the drilling services, including drill rig, wellhead equipment, casings, and integrated drilling services. The bids are due March 9th, 2023, following an extension of 1 month at the request of prospective bidders. It is expected that the bids will be evaluated and necessary approvals obtained. Drilling is expected to commence within 6 months from signing of the contract, and it is also expected that drilling will be completed within a further period of 6 months. Madam President, this financing arrangement offered by the CDB is a watershed moment in our quest to pursue geothermal energy development. After years of waiting, we can now proclaim with a high degree of certainty that our geothermal ambition is within reach. There can be no question that geothermal energy will represent our energy independence and energy security, not only for Nevis, but also for our brothers and sisters on St. Kitts. We thank again the federal government led by Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew for its reliable partnership on this critical project. The economic impact of harnessing geothermal energy is tremendous for both local use and as an incentive for direct investment into Nevis and the Federation. At the proposed purchase price to NEVLEC of US 9 cents per kilowatt hour, Nevis promises to have the cheapest and cleanest electricity in the region, paving the way for significant savings for our people. In addition, geothermal energy will position us to benefit from foreign direct investment from business entities which are heavily dependent on energy for their daily operations. We are now well poised to take advantage of the gift that is geothermal and to propel Nevis into a new era of development. We turn attention now to crime fighting and security. Madam President, crime is a social problem. It requires an all-of-society response. We're delighted that through a variety of initiatives and working with the federal government, we have dramatically reduced violent crime by 15% on the island of Nevis. I wish to salute the Police High Command and officers of the Nevis Division, as well as the contingent of the Army based on Nevis, for their sterling contribution in this regard. I also wish to commend the leadership and staff at the CCTV Command Center, who continue to work diligently to provide support to our security forces. We acknowledge that pursuant to the constitutional provisions, security is a federal matter and should be the responsibility of the federal government to provide for the security forces stationed in Nevis. However, we believe that as a local government, it is also our responsibility to provide for the safety and security of our people. We therefore continue to allocate funding in our local budget as a supplement to provide equipment and services for our security forces stationed on Nevis. Madam President, the rollout of our CCTV program island-wide continues apace. To date, we have laid approximately 12 miles of fiber optic cable stretching from Fothergills in Gingerland to the water taxi pier at Uwali via Charlestown. It is our intention over the medium term to complete the connection from Uwali to Fothergills via the Newcastle route, thus providing a complete 360-degree cover for our CCTV program. In addition, we continue to provide duty-free concessions on the personal importation of surveillance cameras for private homes and businesses as part of our crime-fighting efforts. As it relates to the protection of our borders in Nevis, I am pleased to advise that we are in advanced talks to establish a fully equipped and functional Coast Guard and military base on Nevis, as well as a radar installation. We are resolute, Madam President, in our commitment to drastically reduce criminal activities within our shores. Let us now look at our education sector. Madam President, our quest to deliver exceptional tertiary level education and technical vocational education has never been more targeted. The construction and opening of the Nevis Sixth Form College in October 1980 has been transformational for Nevis. It provided our school leavers the opportunity to remain at home here in Nevis and attain A-level passes in comparison to what used to happen when their predecessors had to travel to Bastille to attain the same. Prior to that opening, students with academic potential but without the economic resources to travel or relocate to St. Kitts were denied the opportunity to further their education. This was unacceptable, and that prompted the push by the then Nevis Island administration to open the Nevis Sixth Form College. Having witnessed the success of that institution, it is obvious that the time is now right for increasing access to tertiary level education on Nevis. Preparations will shortly commence for the construction of a full-fledged community college, which we propose to name after our national hero, the Right Excellent and Right Honorable Sir Simeon Daniel, once his family allows. The Sir Simeon Daniel Community College will allow Nevisians an even greater opportunity to access tertiary level education through avenues such as the UE Open Campus training, along with other online degree courses offered by international and regional universities. The certification and training of our technical students by regional technical education institutions such as the University of Technology in Jamaica will also be facilitated through this endeavor. To complement the push for further educational advancement, our pursuit for TVET, Technical Vocational Certification, will be heightened over the medium term. The Technical Vocational Education Training Center in Gingerland is already completed, and we shall soon construct a larger center in Charlestown. We have invested in the education and training of a number of technical instructors in a variety of areas, all of whom should be completing their training and returning to Nevis in the very short term. Madam President, the goal of this government is to ensure that by December 31st, 2024, all of our skilled persons who have been practicing their craft over the years, and especially our youths, are certified in their relevant field and can publicly display their certificates. This will level the playing field in the local job market and put our people on a competitive path and on par with their counterparts from around the region who have long since been able to obtain a CARICOM skills certificate in their native countries. The infusion of technology in the delivery of education will continue to take priority over this and upcoming school terms. The blended approach to learning, instituted during the pandemic, which saw students accessing both online and in-person sessions, will be further rolled out over the medium term. This will enable our students to access their assignments online and return completed work online, thus improving the delivery of education to our students. We will continue to partner with allied agencies and interested parties, such as Gulf Insurance, for the sponsoring of our annual Inter-Primary Athletic Championship, and the Winsong Foundation, which has graciously donated 5 school buses, along with some 250 tablets for our students, laptops for our teachers, and musical instruments, including steel pans, for the Nevis Cultural Development Foundation. These entities have all contributed generously over the years to the delivery of education, and we encourage others, Madam President, to follow suit. Madam President, I turn now to the all-important topic of healthcare. The new realigning of the Department of Social Services and Community Development with the Ministry of Health provides an excellent opportunity for us to further advance our people-focused agenda. There is much to be gained by the combining of the resources of these two entities as we seek to grapple with the numerous health and social challenges confronting our seniors, our retirees, our single mothers, our mentally ill, and others who are in need of social protection. Strengthening partnerships for health is a practical response to meeting the health needs of our people. In this regard, the Ministry of Health was elated to partner with ENT and Allergy Associates of Florida to make available free access to ear, nose, throat, allergy, and audiology care to persons on Nevis in need of those services. This clinic, which was held in Nevis in October 2022, was a huge success and saw a total of 155 persons accessing these services on that occasion for free. We expect ENT doctors to visit the island a few times each year to serve our needs. The Four Seasons Homeowners Association must also be commended for funding a state-of-the-art emergency dispatch system that seeks to revolutionize our capability for responding to emergencies. In very short order, Nevis will have its own dedicated emergency number. It will not be 911, but it will be a number dedicated to Nevis. That will see a response directly from the hospital and ambulance dispatch services. And I believe police and fire are also included. Our first responders. As it relates to our diagnostic services, Madam President, last year we completed the installation and commissioning of a state-of-the-art Philips 128-slice CT scan machine at the Alexandra Hospital. This unit is now fully operational, and our people are already accessing services at this unit. Our patients, most importantly, no longer need to travel to St. Kitts or elsewhere at considerable costs to access such services. We thank again the Drahi Foundation for its philanthropy in donating this critical piece of equipment. Last year, Madam President, we also commissioned a special chemistry analyzer, giving us rapid response capability for a wide range of diagnostic tests, as well as PCR testing equipment. We also expect to install a state-of-the-art mammogram machine before June 2023. Our investment in medical equipment is all in an effort to enhance the diagnostic services provided at our hospital. Madam President, I am pleased to report that we have received the internal layout drawings from the consultants contracted to do the interior design layout for the new wing at Alexandra Hospital. All the external finishes on that project are substantially complete, with installation of doors and windows, along with the external painting of the structure. Our efforts will now focus on the final phase of the project, which is the interior design. This phase will involve the installation of special floor tile, installation of oxygen gas pipelines, installation of elevators, installation of special lighting to outfit the surgical theater suite, to name a few. Primary focus for this year will be to fully complete the lab, physiotherapy, radiology, and the surgical theater. We have allocated the amount of $12 million in this budget to finance the works expected to be completed in this fiscal year. During this fiscal year, we will continue to focus on the physical build-out of our healthcare facilities. The Mental Health Services Unit has been permanently relocated to its newly renovated premises at Prospect. This new location is not only more conducive to patient care, but also embraces the patient, family, and caregivers in a more psychosocially supportive therapeutic environment. The deteriorating physical condition of the Charlestown Health Center has made it difficult for us to continue to provide services at that location. Work will commence shortly on the relocation of the Charlestown Health Center to rented premises, allowing us to complete the plans for the design and reconstruction of a new structure as we seek to modernize our primary care facilities. Madam President, the acute shortage and unequal distribution of qualified health personnel are major constraints in providing universal access to health care for all. Although our complement of doctors and nurses has increased over the past years, with the recruitment of professionals from Cuba and the Philippines, along, of course, with returning nationals who have completed their field of study, shortages still persist. To alleviate this problem, our government has taken several initiatives to spur the interest of our citizens in pursuing careers in nursing, and for our newly graduated medical doctors to pursue further education in specialized areas such as surgery, internal medicine, anesthesiology, cardiology, gynecology, and orthopedic surgery, These are all critical care services which must be available to our people. We are aware that healthcare-related costs are escalating. making access to the highest level of health care especially difficult for those who are uninsured. In this regard, pursuing the National Health Insurance Scheme is of paramount importance. We note the delays associated with the introduction of this scheme, but we remain committed to working closely with the federal government to pursue the introduction of this initiative to improve the delivery and affordability of health care. Of course, Madam President, none of this is possible without the environment. As a government, we are committed to the protection of the natural environment in Nevis. We'll continue our efforts at banning single-use plastics and styrofoam. We stand committed to providing financial incentives to encourage businesses to switch to biodegradable alternatives which are more eco-friendly, and we pledge to work with the water bottling companies to seek to repurpose or reuse their plastic bottles. We must pay special attention to our landfill at low ground. Every effort will be made to institute new waste disposal measures at the landfill, such as the commissioning of a low-emission incinerator. We have already invested in 2 new garbage trucks and additional heavy equipment for use by the authority, and we have mandated the Solid Waste Management Authority to invest in a wood chipper to be placed at the landfill to convert plant materials into plant mulch, which can be resold for agricultural purposes. We note that there is still a persistent issue with derelict vehicles island-wide, even after our successful efforts a few years ago to reduce this stock. Our administration will seek to reinstitute the island-wide recycling program to deal with derelict vehicles and white goods to clean up the landscape of Nevis. Let me at this point, Madam President, applaud the partnership of the Republic of China, Taiwan, in initiating a plastic recycling system at our landfill, and we encourage our residents to separate plastics from their regular garbage. Let me turn now to our youth. Madam President, our program for the youth must be one that provides real opportunities for career development and their advancement. We continue to be alarmed that despite our best efforts, there still exist profound inequalities resulting in some of the most vulnerable groups, particularly the young, lagging behind. This has manifested itself in the underperformance and marginalization of young men especially, relatively high rates of teenage pregnancy, substance abuse, and ultimately an increase in crime and violence. It therefore requires even greater effort by the government, private sector, the community, and social organizations if we are to change this course and bring about meaningful behavioral changes among our young. Madam President, changes to our education system must be a major point for consideration. It is our hope that the aligning of the Department of Youth with the Department of Education can provide an opportunity for us to introduce our students to youth intervention programs at a very early age. Programs targeting our at-risk youth can now be introduced even while they are attending school, thus allowing us to invest significantly in programs to offer our disaffected youth alternative pathways. Additionally, our renewed focus on technical and vocational education and training, and science, technology, engineering, and math will also provide opportunities for young persons to channel their energies into highly technical areas such as robotics and coding. These programs may be new to us, but are fully functional in other countries. Their introduction forms part of our administration's vision for harnessing the array of skills among our youth, while ensuring that they are exposed to the same level of development and training to keep them on par with their counterparts throughout the region. We will continue to facilitate our Youth in Business program. We have made great strides through our micro-lending program offered by the Small Enterprise Development Unit, SIDU. This program is geared towards lending to women and youth under 35 years of age. We are heartened by the penetration rate and are quite happy to see a number of young persons availing themselves of the opportunity for funding and undertaking activities across a variety of sectors. We look now, Madam President, at housing. Our housing revolution has been transformational. During fiscal year 2022, the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation built a total of 22 homes at a cost of $6 million EC dollars, with a further 17 homes currently under construction with an estimated cost to complete of approximately $5.7 million. Additionally, 4 private homes were built at a cost of $850,653.03. These newly constructed homes are located at Maddens, Hamilton, Craddock Road, Prospect, and Garners. Therefore, a total of 260 homes at an estimated cost of $62.9 million have been constructed by the Housing Corporation during the period 2013 to 2022. The housing revolution, so ably initiated and executed by the former minister, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, will continue into this new fiscal year to meet the continuing demand from citizens to own their own homes. Given the scarcity of government-owned lands available for housing development, your government will embark upon significant land acquisitions at Garner's estate and is currently finalizing a land swap agreement to permit the good people of Barnscott the opportunity to expand their village after many, many years of concern. I now, Madam President, look to our fiscal projections for 2023. As it relates to our fiscal measures, we support the view of most economists that increasing taxes above the optimum level will serve as a deterrent to increased economic growth, business expansion, and prosperity. We also subscribe to the notion that it is the duty of every government to sustain growth in the economy through the creation of good, high-quality paying jobs and expand opportunities for entrepreneurial development in a manner that improves the livelihood and standards of our people. Therefore, Madam President, my administration aims to present a budget for this fiscal year 2023 that is free of any new taxes. While we have not sought to implement any new taxes, we will, however, make a concerted effort to collect any and all arrears of taxes due. We therefore use this opportunity to encourage delinquent taxpayers to immediately formalize a payment arrangement with the various departments of government for the payment of any taxes and fees that are in arrears. As in previous years, we will continue to implement stronger tax collection practices designed to reduce the level of arrears, thus raising our tax collection rates. This strategy is already showing signs of success, with increases in tax revenue for the period 2022 when compared to previous years. We will also continue to work with the federal government to amend the value-added tax legislation to remove the single filing mechanism, thus allowing for all companies operating in Nevis to file and pay their VAT in Nevis. Moreover, we will seek assistance to amend the relevant sections of the Companies Act, including Section 245, subsections 2 to 5, and also the Income Tax Act, so as to allow all business entities operating in Nevis to register, file, and pay their corporate income taxes in Nevis. I hasten to add that this is in relation to business activity generated on the island of Nevis. Coupled with this will be the streamlining of our tax concessions policy, limiting exemptions from the various taxes only to areas as prescribed in the relevant legislation or through cabinet policies, or when necessary, to be used as a short-term tool to drive long-term benefits of an increase in levels of business activity, which ultimately lead to increasing employment opportunities for our people. We have already discontinued the random policy of granting duty-free concessions on vehicles to every holder of a business license, but instead we are now limiting that concession only to instances where the acquisition of a vehicle plays a vital role in the commercial activities of the business. The deciding test will be whether or not, in the absence of the vehicle, the core functions of the business will cease to exist. We are forever minded that we are constrained by limited resources. Therefore, Madam President, We will seek to implement our programs in an efficient and effective manner to safeguard our resources through the strengthening of internal systems aimed at preventing waste, duplication, and overlapping. As part of our planned economic transformation, we will seek to implement reforms that will deepen and improve efficiency and effectiveness in the utilization and execution of our annual budget. This entails rationalizing public expenditures to remove waste, developing and enforcing cost benchmarks for projects and consumables through the strengthening of the program budgeting process. Expenditure tracking and value for money audits will be undertaken regularly to ensure efficiency in the use of our scarce resources. Therefore, Madam President, the broad strategies underpinning this budget and for strengthening the foundation for sustained economic growth and development over the medium term are anchored on the following strategies. Namely, 1, ensuring the business environment is conducive to attracting high-quality investment, employment creation, and economic prosperity in emerging areas such as informatics and energy. 2, accelerating agricultural transformation for enhanced food sovereignty. 3, investing in infrastructural development such as roads, network, energy, water supply, and our airport to improve on connectivity and investor attractiveness. 4, investing in our social infrastructure for quality and accessible healthcare services, as well as our social safety net programs to reduce the burden of vulnerable households. 5, developing human resource capacity through expansion and improvement in quality education, especially in areas that require technical skills to prepare our people to take advantage of the employment opportunities in new and innovative sectors. 6, continue to take greater steps to close fiscal imbalances by lowering the current account deficit and controlling expenditure. Madam President, the total expenditure budget for the fiscal year 2023 is set at $261.6 million. This represents an increase of 14.2% over the 2022 budget estimates, driven mainly by increases in our capital investment program. We have allocated the amount of $195.5 million to recurrent spending, representing 74.7% of the total projected budget expenditure. Our administration is projecting to collect the amount of $146.5 million in recurrent revenue. But when compared to our projected recurrent expenditure allocation of $195.5 million, provides a recurrent deficit of $49 million. This deficit will be covered by a portion of the $66 million that we are currently receiving annually from the federal government, being a share of revenues from the CBI program. The remaining amount of $17 million will be allocated to funding our capital expenditure program. Madam President, the amount of $66.1 million has been allocated to our capital expenditure program. This represents a 25.3% of total projected expenditure, an increase of 37.2% when compared to the capital allocation of the 2022 fiscal period. This major increase in the capital budget symbolizes the determination of this government to undertake a number of capital investment projects. These projects are an integral part of our infrastructural development program and underscore our commitment to the continued development of the island. Funding for our capital expenditure program will comprise of $5.5 million in loan funding from the Bank of Nevis to complete the Island Main Road project, $4.5 million in grant funding from the Taiwanese government to finance Phase 2 of the Pinnitz Park project, along with $1 million in funds remaining under the previously approved Social Security loan to fund capital projects on Nevis. It is our intention to seek additional financing at concessionary rates not exceeding 3.5% to cover the shortfall in our capital budget. Madam President, a summary of resources projected to date to finance our 2023 expenditure program are outlined as follows. Current revenue, $146.5 million. CBI proceeds, $66 million. Bank of Nevis loan, $5.5 million. Taiwanese grant, $4.5 million. Social Security loan, $1 million. I wish to make it abundantly clear that annual budgets are merely projections for revenue and expenditure. Even though we have made these projections, we are fully aware that our ability to undertake this level of expenditure will naturally be limited by our ability to gain access to funding. Our major priority will be to complete the work on the new wing at the Alexandra Hospital, and other projects started last year but are still incomplete before venturing to start work on any new projects. We must complete existing projects before starting new projects. I further wish to assure the public that we will not be reckless with our spending and will only seek to undertake capital projects if the funding becomes available and can be accessed at low cost in accordance with our debt management strategy. Where funding is not available, Madam President, or cannot be accessed at concessionary rates, we will curtail our expenditure program and carry forward to the next fiscal period any projects which were not executed due to the lack of approved funding. Madam President, the major allocations in our expenditure are as follows. The Office of the Premier is allocated funding in the amount of $11.3 million, representing 4.33% of the total budget. Included in this amount of funds allocated to support the security services, preparation of the delivery of the geothermal project, and the expansion of our CCTV program in our fight against crime. The Ministry of Finance is allocated funding in the amount of $89.2 million, representing 34.09% of the total budget. Included in this amount of funds allocated to meet our debt servicing obligations. The Ministry of Communications and Works is allocated funding in the amount of $35.9 million, representing 13.7% of the total budget. Included in this amount are funds allocated for our infrastructure development program, namely the upgrading of our road network, maintaining of government buildings and other structures, along with provisions for upgrading our water services. The Ministry of Agriculture is allocated funding in the amount of $17.6 million, representing 6.73% of the total budget. Included in this amount are funds allocated for our food sustainability and security initiatives, establishing the poultry industry, upgrading of our processing facilities, and our response to natural disasters. The Ministry of Health, Gender, Social Affairs, Social and Community Development is allocated funding in the amount of $49.4 million, representing 18.88% of the total budget. Included in this amount are funds allocated for improvements to our healthcare facilities, procurement of specialized equipment and supplies, completion of the internal layout for the Alexandra Hospital expansion program, along with funding of programs at social services and community development. The Ministry of Tourism is allocated funding in the amount of $9.6 million, representing 3.67% of the total budget. Included in this amount are funds allocated for the repositioning of our tourism sector so as to recapture the momentum of the pre-pandemic era and for maintaining our various tourism products on island to enhance our visitor experience. The Ministry of Education, Library Services, Information, Technology, Youth and Sports is allocated funding in the amount of $43.7 million, representing 16.69% of the total budget. Included in this amount of funds allocated for the delivery of quality education to our people, repositioning of the education system by adopting online platforms in support of the virtual classroom, executing work under the CDB TVET enhancement program, general maintenance of our educational facilities, upkeep of our sporting facilities, and funding programs for our youth. Madam President, the challenge for every government operating with limited fiscal space lies in striking a balance between restraining expenditure while at the same time trying to stay course in implementing policies which aid economic recovery through a well-thought-out structural reform agenda. Over the medium term, my administration will seek to address our fiscal situation and better align revenue with expenditure. We will continue to review the operations of government to reduce wastage in all areas and attempt to deliver services to the public in a more efficient manner through our medium-term public sector modernization program. Madam President, I now move to what most people come to hear, the conclusion. In conclusion, while I seek to reflect on the gains we have made over the last financial year, our focus must now turn to how we move forward. I have taken the time to carefully and clearly give an account of our stewardship, while at the same time articulating our plans and programs and giving a clear indication of our projections for this year. These accomplishments were clearly laid out in a user-friendly format so that our people can measure our performance. Our plans to grow the economy through the expansion of the various sectors and to increase fiscal space through fiscal consolidation are crystal clear. We have also outlined our fiscal strategy, our policy on crime, and our program for the youths, to name a few. Madam President, today I will be moderate and declare that the state of the Nevis economy is improving. We have taken the steps to consolidate our expenditure, even in the face of a 5% salary increase at the beginning of this new year. We have put the necessary mechanisms in place to deal with external and homegrown challenges. Enhanced and aggressive collection measures have contributed to increased revenue collection in recent times. Madam President, while we continue to receive some amounts from CBI revenue flows, we remain committed to a lasting mechanism for a fair share of these and other national resources for the people of Nevis. We will therefore redouble our efforts with the federal government in this regard, while simultaneously growing our economy and increasing our revenue base. Despite the numerous challenges, this government has been creative and resolute as we maneuver the affairs of our island. The policies and programs we have formulated and implemented, coupled with our dedication and determination to succeed, will allow us to overcome any obstacle that stands in the path of our journey towards prosperity for our people. We ask the people of Nevis to keep the faith, to continue to support your government, so that we can work together for a better and brighter Nevis for ourselves and our children. We are keenly aware, Madam President, that the next 5 years stretch before us as a canvas that awaits the painting of our legacy. We are deeply indebted to the people of Nevis for the opportunity to lead them in this unique period in our history. We pledge ourselves to delivering on the vision of prosperity based on equitable distribution of resources for the benefit of all Nevisians. We thank you all.
You're listening to Vaughn Radio from the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis.
And you are just listening to a presentation of the 2023 budget address by the Premier of Nevis, Dr. the Honorable Mark Brantley, and this was first heard on Monday, 20th February, during a sit-in of the Nevis Island Assembly. It is now 15 minutes before the 10 o'clock hour.